The grandparents had been forbidden from seeing their grandchild for 8 years because of a family feud. When Steve Harvey surprised them, not a soul was left dry-eyed, and 3 generations discovered that love is stronger than pride. It was November 2021, and 68-year-old Robert and 65-year-old Margaret Thompson from Atlanta had been living with a heartbreak that consumed their golden years. For 8 long years, they had been forbidden from seeing their grandson Tyler due to a devastating family feud that had torn their family apart. The conflict had started in 2013 when their daughter-in-law Jessica divorced their son Michael after discovering his affair. The divorce was bitter and ugly, filled with accusations, legal battles, and enough hurt feelings to last a lifetime. Michael, drowning in guilt and shame, had sided with his parents against Jessica, claiming she was trying to turn Tyler against the Thompson family. Jessica, feeling attacked and betrayed by the entire Thompson family, made a decision that would haunt everyone involved for years to come. She obtained a restraining order against Robert and Margaret, claiming they had threatened to take Tyler away from her and had been poisoning his mind against her during visits. The truth was more complicated and sadder than anyone wanted to admit. Robert and Margaret had been devastated by their son's infidelity and had initially blamed Jessica for not being a good enough wife to keep Michael faithful. In their grief and disappointment, they had said things they couldn't take back, made accusations they couldn't prove, and chosen loyalty to their son over what was best for their grandson. Jessica, a 29-year-old nurse who was struggling to rebuild her life as a single mother, had felt attacked from all sides. The restraining order wasn't just about protecting Tyler May. It was about protecting herself from people who she felt blamed her for her marriage's failure. Tyler was only 2 years old when the family split apart. He had no memory of his paternal grandparents, no understanding of why half of his family had suddenly disappeared from his life. As he grew up, Tyler would occasionally ask about his daddy's parents, but Jessica would change the subject or give vague answers about complicated adult problems. Meanwhile, Robert and Margaret Thompson lived every day with the agony of missing their grandson's childhood. They had no photos of Tyler after age 2, no idea what he looked like now, no knowledge of his interests, his personality, or his dreams. They didn't know he had learned to ride a bike at 4, that he loved dinosaurs and wanted to be a paleontologist, or that he asked Santa every Christmas to bring his other grandparents back. Michael, consumed by guilt over his affair and the destruction of his family, had moved across the country to California and rarely contacted anyone. The family that had once been close was now scattered and broken, with Tyler at the center of it all, unaware of how much he was loved and missed by people he didn't even remember. Robert and Margaret had tried everything to reconnect with Tyler. They had sent birthday cards that were returned unopened, hired lawyers who told them the restraining order was legally sound, and even hired a private investigator to get photos of Tyler from a distance, just so they could see how he was growing up. "We've missed everything," Margaret would cry to Robert on Tyler's birthday each year. His first day of school, his lost teeth, his Little League games. "We don't even know what his voice sounds like anymore." "I know, sweetheart," Robert would reply, holding his wife as they both grieved for a relationship that felt more lost than if Tyler had died. At least if something terrible had happened to him, we would have memories. This way, we just have emptiness. As Tyler grew older, he began to piece together that something significant was missing from his family story. Other kids had 4 grandparents, but he only had his maternal grandmother. When he asked more direct questions, Jessica struggled with how to explain the situation without turning him against people she still resented. The breaking point came when Tyler turned 10 and directly asked Jessica, Mom, why don't I have a grandma and grandpa from Dad's side? Are they dead? Jessica realized she couldn't keep avoiding the truth forever. No, honey. They're not dead. There were some grown-up problems when you were little, and we don't see them anymore. But they're my grandparents too, right? Don't they want to see me? Jessica felt her heart break. It's complicated, Tyler. Can't we just fix it? Can't we say sorry and be a family again? That conversation haunted Jessica for weeks. She began to realize that her anger toward the Thompson family was hurting Tyler more than it was protecting him. But she was also terrified of opening old wounds and didn't know how to bridge a gap that had grown so wide. Jessica's sister Maria had been watching this family tragedy unfold for years and finally decided to take action. Maria had always believed that Jessica's anger, while understandable, was ultimately hurting Tyler more than anyone else. Without telling Jessica, Maria wrote a letter to the Steve Harvey show explaining the family's situation and Tyler's innocent questions about his missing grandparents. Mr. Harvey, Maria wrote, my nephew Tyler is 10 years old and doesn't understand why he can't see his father's parents. His grandparents are good people who made mistakes during a difficult time, and they've been grieving the loss of their grandson for 8 years. Tyler wants to meet them, but pride and old hurt feelings are keeping this family apart. Could you help heal this family before Tyler gets any older? 6 weeks later, Maria received a call from Janet Miller, a producer on the Steve Harvey show. Maria, we received your letter about Tyler and his grandparents, and Mr. Harvey was very moved by the story. We'd like to help, but this is a very delicate situation. Would Jessica be open to appearing on the show to talk about family healing and forgiveness? I think she might be, Maria said, especially if it's framed as being about what's best for Tyler. The producers approached Jessica carefully, explaining that they wanted to do a segment about families healing from old wounds for the sake of children. They didn't initially mention that they had already been in contact with Robert and Margaret Thompson. Jessica agreed to appear on the show with Tyler, thinking it would be a general discussion about family dynamics and co-parenting after divorce. 2 weeks later, Jessica and Tyler sat in the green room of the Steve Harvey show. Tyler was excited to be on television, and Jessica was nervous about discussing her family's private business on national TV. When Steve met with Jessica before the taping, he could see both her strength and her pain. Jessica, I want you to know that everything we're going to do today is about healing and what's best for Tyler. I just want people to understand that sometimes family situations are complicated, Jessica said. I'm not the villain in this story, but I'm not sure I'm the hero either. Today isn't about heroes and villains. Today is about a little boy who deserves to know all the people who love him. The interview started with Jessica telling Tyler's story, how he was a bright, curious fourth grader who loved science and asked hard questions about family that she didn't always know how to answer. Tyler, Steve said, tell me about your family. Tyler, comfortable and confident, started listing his family members. I have my mom and my grandma Nancy, and my dad lives in California, but I don't see him much. And Steve prompted gently. And I think I have other grandparents, but I don't know them. Steve looked at Jessica. Jessica, tell us about those other grandparents. Jessica took a deep breath. Tyler's father's parents have been estranged from our family since Tyler was very young. There was a difficult divorce and a lot of hurt feelings, and communication broke down. Tyler, how do you feel about not knowing your other grandparents? Sad, Tyler said simply. I want to know them. I want to know if they're nice and if they would like me. Steve's voice got softer. What would you want to say to them if you could? Tyler thought for a moment. I would want to tell them that I'm sorry we haven't been friends, and I would want to know if they want to be my grandparents. Jessica started crying, listening to her son's innocent words. "Jessica," Steve said, "what do you think Tyler's other grandparents would say if they heard that?" I think they would be overjoyed. I think they've missed him just as much as he's missed them, even though he doesn't remember them." Steve stood up. "Jessica, what if I told you that you're right? What if I told you that Robert and Margaret Thompson have been heartbroken for 8 years, missing Tyler every single day?" Jessica's eyes widened. "What are you saying? What if I told you they were here?" "Here? As in here? "Tyler," Steve said, turning to the confused 10-year-old, "your grandparents Robert and Margaret have been wanting to meet you for a very long time. They're backstage right now, and they would love to give you a hug if that's okay with you." Tyler looked at his mother, then at Steve. "My real grandparents are here." "Your real grandparents are here," Steve confirmed. Tyler jumped up from his chair. "Can I meet them now?" Steve looked at Jessica, who was crying and nodding. "Bring them out," she whispered. Robert and Margaret Thompson walked onto the stage, both crying before they even saw Tyler clearly. Margaret was clutching a photo album, and Robert was carrying a teddy bear. Tyler stared at them for a moment, taking in these strangers who were supposed to be his family. "Tyler," Margaret said, kneeling down to his level, "we are so happy to meet you. We've been wanting to hug you for 8 years. Are you really my grandma and grandpa?" "We really are," Robert said, his voice shaking. "We love you so much, even though we haven't been able to see you." Tyler looked back at his mother, who nodded encouragingly. Then he walked over to Margaret and Robert and let them hug him. The embrace lasted several minutes, while the audience cried and applauded. Steve had to wipe tears from his own eyes. "Tyler," Margaret said, when they finally separated, "we brought you some things. We have pictures of your daddy when he was little, just like you, and we have a teddy bear that we've been keeping for you." Tyler examined the photo album with fascination. "My dad was little like me, just like you," Robert said. "And he loved dinosaurs too." "You know I love dinosaurs." "We know lots of things about you," Margaret said. "We've been learning about you from far away, because we couldn't be close." Tyler looked confused. "Why couldn't you be close?" The adults exchanged glances, and Steve stepped in. "Tyler, sometimes grown-ups have disagreements and make mistakes, but the important thing is that your grandparents never stopped loving you. And now we can be close." Tyler asked hopefully. Jessica, who had been watching this reunion with a mixture of emotions, finally spoke. "Tyler, if you want to spend time with your grandparents, we can work that out." Margaret looked at Jessica with tears in her eyes. "Jessica, thank you. We know we made mistakes during a very difficult time. We're sorry for the pain we caused you." "I'm sorry too," Jessica replied. "I let my hurt feelings keep Tyler from knowing you. And that wasn't fair to any of us," Robert added. "We don't want to cause any more problems. We just want to be part of Tyler's life in whatever way you're comfortable with." "I want you to be part of his life," Jessica said. "Tyler deserves to have grandparents who love him." The most touching moment came when Tyler asked, "Can you come to my birthday party next month?" "We would love to come to your birthday party," Margaret said, crying again. "And can you teach me about my daddy when he was little?" "We can tell you so many stories," Robert promised. 6 months later, the Thompson family returned to Steve's show for a follow-up that amazed everyone. Tyler was now regularly spending weekends with Robert and Margaret, and the relationship had healed beyond anyone's expectations. "Jessica," Steve said during the follow-up, "how has having Robert and Margaret back in your lives affected your family?" "It's been incredible," Jessica said. "Tyler is happier, more confident, and he feels complete now. And honestly, Having them help with Tyler has made me a better mother too. Tyler, what's the best part about having your grandparents? They tell me stories about my dad, and they teach me things, and they make really good cookies, Tyler said, making everyone laugh. And Robert and Margaret, how has this changed your lives? Margaret answered through tears, we get to be grandparents again. We get to watch Tyler play soccer, help him with homework, and just love him the way we always wanted to. Robert added, we lost 8 years, but we're not going to waste any more time. Every day with Tyler is a gift. The grandparent surprise episode became one of the most shared episodes in Steve Harvey show history, inspiring countless families to reconsider old feuds and prioritize relationships over pride. Steve kept a photo from that first meeting on his desk. Tyler hugging his grandparents for the first time in 8 years. It reminded him daily that children are often the casualties of adult conflicts, and that healing is always possible when love is put before pride. The Thompson family taught me that family feuds hurt children more than adults. Steve often says, Tyler didn't choose the conflict, but he paid the price for it. When the adults finally put his needs first, everyone won. If this incredible story of family healing and the power of putting children first moved you, please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who might need to heal an old family wound for the sake of the children involved. Have you ever seen a family reunite after years of separation? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing stories about love winning over pride and the healing power of putting family first.